everyone, it's Jake at Jake's Metal Chat. Hope you're all well and welcome to episode 48 of my Metal Vault, where I will be exploring and showing you my favorite albums within heavy metal to thrash metal to death metal to black metal, doom metal, sludge metal, folk metal, you name it. All of that excellent stuff, as well as talking about the albums. I will be talking about the bands, a brief history, and any releases leading up to the albums that I have picked for the episode. And this case, I have two from the same band, like I did with Meshuggah. And everyone knows this band. If you're not familiar with them, then go check them out. Or if you already are familiar with them, you probably know the later stuff. But the two albums that I'm showing are their earliest work and just some of the absolute best to come out of the 1980s. One's from 86 and one's from 87. I am talking about one of the biggest bands to come out of Brazil, and that is Sepultura, who, by looking at the year they formed, which was 1984, they've been around for 40 years. 40 years of making music. That's just crazy. You wouldn't think that when you look at it. It's like, but then I do that. I look at a year and I think, wow, this is going to be like 40 or 41 or 50 or something, or 35 or how many years. But these guys have been around for 40 years. Crazy. And like I said, everyone's going to know later stuff, depending on how late you got into Sepultura. I got into them about 2007. Maybe a bit later, but I'm going to say 2007 because that seems right when I got into them. Or might have been early mid 2008. And I heard one of the later songs that came out in 2006, which I cannot remember which one that would have been. Or 2000. Not sure when it came out, but it was with the later lineup. I know that much. And I believe it came out. Yeah, got lost there because here we go. 2006. It would have been 2006. Yeah, Convicted in Life. That was the song I was trying to remember how I got into Sepultura. It was that song. But then I was like, well, how long has this band been around? And I saw the lineup that obviously was started by two. You know who I'm going to be talking about, the Cavalera brothers. And of course, they were on, Max was on all of them until 96 and Igor until 2006. But here's the albums that started it all for him. Well, here's the first one. So once again, we have Sepultura. And this is their 1986 debut, Morbid Visions. And also their 1987 album, their second album, Schizophrenia. And these two right here, just holy shit, still hold up today. Heard them yesterday and just look at them. I'll take them out of their cases so you can see them without the glare. Man, early Sepultura here. But before I chat about the band and the albums themselves, I'm going to show you the artwork again. So that's for Morbid Visions. But I got the re-release here because it has this on it. Bestial Devastation. What an EP this is. And of course, Cavalera did re-record these two, and they are absolutely awesome. But I still love the originals. I was watching Global Metal Assault's documentary about this, about the early days of Sepultura. So here is the lineup here. So we got Max and Eagle. They are the two original members that formed the band. Paolo is still in the band, and I met him last year at the Griffin when he played with his other band. Really nice guy. And Giaro has another band of his own, but he was on this and the EP as well. After the tour he did in '87, he left. And of course, when we get to the second album, Andreas appeared on that one. And he's been in the band ever since. Here's some old school pictures right here. I'm a sucker for that. And of course, very young there. So this is going to be around like, some pictures will be around 85, 86. And right here as well. Just some really, really cool stuff here. And I believe there's a picture under the CD. So there's the CD. And the band picture. Yes, I have realized that is broken. I might have to replace that with just that piece, but for now I'll keep like that. Not sure where these pictures were taken, the ones with Max, Paolo, and Jaro. I think the one with Eagles at the same place, but obviously you got the backdrop there. And I met Igor briefly in Manchester before Cavalier played on stage. I know they're called Cavalier Conspiracy, but I'm just saying Cavalier for now because it's got, when I get to the logo again, they got the logo like that. And of course, it's the back. There's another band picture of them right here. And all the songs there, you know, tracks 1 to 8 are Morbid Visions, and tracks 9 to 13 are Bestial Devastation. The other two, one's a demo version of Necromancer and Anti-Cop Live. Now, yeah, let's talk about this one first. Well, let's talk about the band before I talk about this. So, once again, they formed in 1984 in Belo Horizonte. I just butchered that. I do apologize. But then moved to Sao Paulo after they started playing more shows. Before this album was released, they did a split with a band called Overdose. So that's where you would have a lot of early fans of Sepultura would have heard Bestial Devastation. The Overdose one is Ciclo XX, which I think I've heard it like some years back now. I can't remember when, but I need to listen to it again because I do remember it being really good. But before any of this stuff was recorded, they did have a member who you will know as the vocalist for Sarcophago. And I am talking about Wagner Antichrist. He was one of the original members of Sepultura. He was the vocalist, but then he had a falling out with Max and Eagle, and it only got worse from when Sepultura and Sarcophago were playing shows together, or not playing as many shows together. I can see why. There was a lot of animosity there. So after all that, and then things were fine for a while, because this one, the Global Metal Assault, one of the videos there, it was fine until the song Antichrist appeared on Bestial Devastation. He got mad about that. And then it just got more strained from there. And things happen like that in bands. Some members just don't get on after leaving the band, or sometimes they end on good terms and they can be friends still, but in this case, not so much. But anyway, let's crack on. So after the Bestial Devastation and Ciclo XX. I think I've said the first name wrong, but I do apologize if I have butchered it. And then after that split, of course, they were on the label, and that's what Cogomelo Records signed them because they saw them play a live show, and then they got them to do the split with Overdose, and then after that, got them the chance to do their first full length, which is of course Morbid Visions. And I mean, I do like the logo they got now, but I like this one more because it's more on the black death metal side, and this album is pretty much chock full of thrash, black, and death metal just mixed into one, but still very punky. It's still got that punk feel to it because they were influenced by bands like Discharge and Sex Pistols, and what mainly bands like Discharge, Disorder, The Exploited, more though like bands after the Sex Pistols, and it shows on the EP as well as the debut. Now let's get on with the songs here. Of course, you got the intro. Yeah, because before I had the CD, I heard it on YouTube. I heard the intro, and I was like, okay, this is really evil. And then it goes straight into the title track, which is just insane. The whole album itself is just very dark and heavy. Morbid Visions, the title track, just Max's vocals on this are just evil, very evil. The guitar work just very complements that dark tone of the album, that evil tone. Same with the bass and same with the drums. You know, like those early stages of black and death metal right there. Of course, with that thrash metal put right in there with good measure. Then we're on to Mayhem. Another cracking song right there. Just more of the same evil sounding vocals, shredding guitars, dirty bass tones, crashing drums. Same with Troops of Doom, and this one is because the one I know is the one that everyone else would have heard first, but this one's a lot different from the one that you would hear on Schizophrenia, because it wasn't on it originally, but the one that I got has it on because they re-released it and recorded it and put on the album. But with Troops of Doom, that version, I really like it. It's a lot different from that one, a lot more primitive in a way. That, still, but a bit more punkier, than the re-record, the one after this, but still very good there. Then we get on to the longest one on here, because there's two of them that clock over 5 minutes, but War clocks in at 5 minutes and 34 seconds, and just hearing that chorus of War, just just the sheer amount of downright evilness coming from Max once again, and just from everyone on the album. And of course, I know Paolo didn't do the bass on it. That was Giaro. He did the bass on this album, and I think Andreas did it on the other one, but I'll get to that once I get to that album. Get into Crucifixion, 5 minutes and 3 seconds. That's the second longest track on there. Just still continuing on that aggression, that evilness, that I know I'm saying a lot of the same things again, but if you have heard this album, you know how evil sounding this really is. And it's crazy. And then Show Me the Wrath. Oh yeah, it did Show Me the Wrath. It just, with everything thrown out, with the guitars, the bass, the drums, Max's vocals, everything just, it's definitely showing you the wrath of that song there. Then we got Funeral Rites. Very, again, a very dark, evil sounding song with very much of the same going on. Some songs just kick right in, and other ones just build up. So like Troops of Doom builds up before it kicks right in. And then to finish it off, and a really good closer right here, Empire of the Damned. And just with everything going on, it just closes it beautifully. Just a evil man, evil guy, evil sounding album. This was released on the 10th of November 1986 on Coco Mellow Records, which, when I looked them up last night, they are still active. They specialize more in black death and thrash metal. They've been going since 1985. And when I do look on past roster, obviously Sepultura will be on there. And of course, Sarcophago, Volcano, Unleashed was on there. Current roster, well, there's not very many bands on there I know. Except for Sex Trash. They sound very familiar to me, as well as Witch Hammer. But apart from that, not all the current roster I know, but some of the past roster I do know. But overall, this album is just insane. But like I said, this is the re-released version, so it's got Bestial Devastation, which starts off with that, that evil sounding voice, and I can't remember who did that. The voice on Bestial Devastation. I'm looking at the split one. I'm going to actually click on where it says EP, which this one had the Troops of Doom on it. I want to say Max did the curse part. I'm not sure, but still, it kicks it off, and then you get those power chord guitars with the drumming, with the drum fills, and then with the title track of the EP, Bestial Devastation. Just relentless. Then it slows down a bit, and then it picks up a little bit, and then it all just kicks off again. And that's what you want with something, with a song of that magnitude. Same with Antichrist, still carrying that on. Just, and I love the chorus part where it's just saying the title of the song. Oh, just so with the evil sounding guitars, the vocals, the drumming, the bass, just everything just melds together so well. Necromancer just carrying on from Antichrist, still bringing that wrath, that evilness, that overall aggression to the entire EP, and then ending on Warriors of Death. Just ending on that, as it is on the re-release of this album I'm going to talk about as well. So yeah, cracking stuff. So my overall, if you love Sepultura and you want to listen to something a little bit, you want to hear earlier stuff, this is definitely for you, because it blends thrash with death and black metal. The very like early stages, like that first wave of black metal and death metal, and still very punky as well. If you love that mix of something that still sounds punky but it's got that aggressiveness, evilness, and just downright just sheer amount of aggression from black and death metal, this is definitely for you. But of course, still very thrashy indeed. So that is Morbid Visions. Now let's get on to their second album, which there's no releases before that. And before I get on to this, you probably know where they got the name from. And I'm reading it out from here. The band name came do that again. The band name comes from a Portuguese translation of Motorhead's song Dancing on Your Grave. Very much influenced by Motorhead. Of course, Sepultura means grave. But I know there's been some people that might have said their name wrong. I know I said it wrong, and I'm not going to say it. But then I watched a live set of them from '86, saying it the right way, which is Sepultura. But yeah, there's probably a lot of us who've done that, so I'm not the only one. But anyway, let's get on to the second album, Schizophrenia, which features the debut of Andreas Kisser, who is still in the band to this day. He joined in 1987 and he's been in the band ever since. And what I remember seeing this cover and thinking, what the absolute hell am I looking at? And yeah, it's just really cool. And of course, people would have seen Cavalier re-recording this one as well, which I can't wait for. But I still love the original album. Of course, we got the back, so we got Andreas right there with his aviators on. Of course, it's a re-release because it's got some bonus tracks. So a demo version of The Past Reborns, The Storms. And various other things. So let's get the cover out again. Oh, but I've got to show the CD. I love the old school Sepultura logo. It's one of my favorite logos. One of my favorite logos. And here is the cover once again. I mean, the whole tone of the album pretty much sums up this cover pretty much in a nutshell. Is a band picture. And one, we'll show more band pictures. Lyrics right here. So it folds out like a poster. But I'm not going to put this on my wall. It's got to be in the CD. And more band pictures right here. Again, sucker for band pictures. Especially old school ones like this. And that's it for that. And I believe if only a look in here. Oh yeah, there's a picture of him in a locked up in a cage. There you go. So yeah, this one just is more on the death thrash metal side, more thrashy death metal, more on the death thrash side. Still released by Cocomello Records, and then the rest is history. They were then joined the now label after this one, but I'll get to that in a minute once I get to the bonus track on this album. And that's where I'll stop talking to it from. So we got the intro, which has like a the Psycho theme with if you watch Psycho, you know what's in I'm on about and where you hear the music. So it starts off with that, and then that demonic voice played backwards, and then it goes straight into one of my favorite songs on this album. From the Past Comes the Storm. And what a song to start off with. It is just absolutely kick-ass, right? Kick-ass, just absolutely kick-ass. I heard it again yesterday, and it's just bringing back all the memories that I heard when I first heard it, and just good. The guitar work, bass work, drumming, everything, vocals, everything just absolutely nailed on this song. And that goes straight into The Wall, which again carrying on from the past comes the storm. again, very much with the guitars and just how structured, how how structured it really is. And then get into my other favorite song from this album, and I also love the re-recorded version of. I also love the original, "Escape to the Void." Just yeah, love, always love like whammy bar solos, if you can call them so. I call them solos. The whammy bar solos I'm basically getting at. Always love hearing that in songs. And then just kicks right in, so much aggression. Max just belting it on the vocals. Eagle just smashing those drums like his life depends on it. And and I had to look at yeah, Andreas did the bass on the album, and Max and Andreas just absolutely just shredding it on their respective instruments. And then that goes into an instrumental, which is 7 minutes and 15 seconds long, so it's the longest one on this album. Equestrian Sympathy. Really cool instrumental there. Really cool. Just don't need vocals for it. I mean, you could put vocals in it, but then I don't. But then I think it might lose its charm. Just what a lot. So having it as an instrumental track works perfectly. Then that goes into Screams Behind the Shadows, and I was totally in the zone when listening to this album, this song, because I was just like, wow, wow, that song was so cool because of everything that was just going on. And then it goes straight into Septic Schizo, carrying on all of that in your face aggression with all the guitars, the drumming, vocal, everything. Basically, when I say sheer aggression, I'm implying all that. Then to another instrumental, The Abyss, which is 1 minute and 2 seconds long, which is carrying on from Septic Schizo, and then from there to RIP, Rest in Pain. And my God, how this one starts out is nuts. It just goes straight in, and it's absolutely mental. How quickly a lot of these songs kick in. And then finally, as I got the re-release here, we get into the version of Troops of Doom that we all know. And Troops of Doom, need I say more about that? It is just a belter of a song. And one of the many Sepultura songs, pretty much the only Sepultura song I know from start to finish. Not the solo or the rhythm parts. No, a bit of Beneath the Remains and Inner Self, but apart from that, Troops of Doom is the one I know the most. And that but in terms of like just as an original release, Rest in Pain is a perfect closer for the album. But just to add on to that, having Troops of Doom right there, it's just that. Yeah, that cherry on top of the cake. I was trying to think of something else, but that one, that cherry on top of that cake right there is just shit, just insane how much dedication they put into these two albums. I know the lineups are a little bit different. Obviously, is Max and Eagle still on this album? Now let's get into the artwork for the first one. So for the artwork, we have Alex, who was doing maybe the basis of the artwork, but then who did it, like the final artwork was Benz, I think that's how you say it, whose brothers was with Pat, who's done photographs for Mutilator, Overdose, and of course Sepultura. Getting back to Ibanez, I think I'm saying his name wrong. did not only Sepultura's Morbid Visions and Schizophrenia, mentioning Sex Trash again because he did the artwork and logo for them. Also for Sarcophagos, the Lords of Scourge and Hate, the logo for the Lords of Scourge and logo for Hate. And Mutilator did the final art for their album Immortal Force, as well as a split called Warfare Noise. And Holocaustone, their final art for their album, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce here. For engineering it, they had 2 people, as I know. And Louise, I'm going to just say his last name, and I hope I said his last name right, was the keyboardist for Mr. Fire, who I have mentioned here on the Vault. He did keyboards on their album Goetia, but has also done music stuff for, obviously, Sepultura, did Morbid Visions. So, because everyone around that scene would have known each other just from going to gigs and stuff. Eduardo did the engineering and mastering for this, but also Luis, where is he? Yeah. Also did engineering and mastering, and I'm not going to try and say his name, but Borges, I think I just said that one, did photographs for Sepultura, Overdose, Sarcophago's first album, and their Rotting EP. And then to end on more photographs was Vanda. She did photographs for the Roots of Sepultura compilation in '96. But 10 years before that, the photographs for more Visions and for one band called The Mist. So you know who did stuff on this album here. Now let's get back to Schizophrenia. For guest stuff, they had Paolo Gordo doing violin, and the violin on there just adds that added extra just evil, dark atmosphere to the opener of the album. And then Hankerin, I'll just say Han because I can't say his name properly. I don't want to butcher it any further. Obviously, he's in one band now on keyboards, was in another band on keyboards, but did keyboards for Schizophrenia, Beneath the Remains, Bestial Devastation on track 6, and Arise. So, had some guest musicians on there. As for the engineering, George Mario, of course, passed away 2012, did the remastering for the album, as many others. And rest in peace, brother. For the mastering engineering, there is Tarzo. And now, what's he done? All right, he did guest vocals on Overdose, Consequence, and on Sarcophago's Hate album, as well as doing stuff for Mr. Fire, Mutilator, and Sarcophago, of course, Sepultura. Now looking here for mixing, so the remastering of the mixing of this album was done by Scott Burns. Now, everyone knows Scott Burns. He's done a lot of the earlier death metal bands. And the album that he did for Sepultura was their third album, Beneath the Remains, which is one of my all-time favorite albums by them. It is absolutely crazy. And yeah, level hate Scott Burns. He has engineered a lot of great death metal albums. And the song that I did the engineering and recording, but as a remaster of it. Marcos, because I cannot say the name that's part of there, which is his last name. I'm just getting out of drink. My throat's getting sore. Got my fan on because it's quite hot here today. Yeah, he's done a lot for a lot of bands, and obviously Sarcophago, Sepultura, Witchhammer, who I've mentioned already, Volcano. Well, then one, Who Are the True, and Sex Trash again, just to mention the band once again. Because I think a lot of them would have been in touch with the same people, same people that would have engineered and mixed and mastered. Krong, who's in Mist and the and Unbomber Files. He's done obviously backing vocals on Rotting by Sarcophago and on the split with Sepultura and Overdose, as well as I saw Mayhem. No, it's a different Mayhem, not the Mayhem we know, but one from Brazil. And to end it off, we got Jeff Daniels producing it, who did the reissue of this, and also for Don't Break the Faith, Don't Break the Oath by Merciful Fate. So a lot of people that would have worked on this album would have worked on albums such as that. And for Photographs, that was Fabiana. She did the photographs. So there you go for these two albums. And what is there to say about these albums? Well, I always end with this, my overall conclusions of the albums. They're both heavy. They're both aggressive. In your face. Evil. Dark. Excuse me. And I think really underrated because they don't get talked about very much. Obviously, these two albums and on the EP on this and the EP as well, that's also on the re-release of this album. Of course, More Visions and Bestial Devastation did get re-recorded by Cavalera. I know it's Cavalera Conspiracy, like I said before, but I'm just saying it as it was on the tour that they did last year. I know they're playing this year, but I don't think they're going to get a chance to see any shows because they're going to be playing what they've re-recorded. I don't know if all of or so far of this album, but I don't think they get talked about very much. And I think that's a shame because obviously they got more albums out. Obviously they got Beneath the Remains, Arise, Chaos AD, Roots, and try to remember all the albums after that when going blank, but I prefer it. But my favorite era of Sepultura is from here, Beneath the Remains, Arise, Chaos AD, and Roots. If you don't like Roots, that's totally fine. But then, I mean, if you don't like Roots, that's fair enough. But if there's going to be like an era of Sepultura I would go back to very often, it'd be like the era of this, like with that really early primitive black and death metal sound, and then obviously more death and thrash on here. And these albums need more love because there's that important word. They are timeless masterpieces, and I don't say that lightly when I talk about the albums that I've talked about. They are genuinely timeless masterpieces. They're still standing the test of time. Can't talk today. This came out in 1986, so this album is 38 years old. And this album is, well, this will be 38 years old in November. And this one came out, when did this come out? 30th of October, so it will be 37 years old. So nearly 38 years of Morbid Visions, nearly 37 years of Schizophrenia. So 38 years of early thrash, black death metal, early death and thrash. So there you go. And if you've not heard these albums, pick them up. I highly recommend them both. And I know I repeat myself a lot here, but it has to be said. If you like that really early primitive sound of black and death metal, you love that like earlier stuff from your favorite bands that has that sheer amount of aggression in their music, definitely these two albums right here from Sepultura. So good. So damn good. And I will be seeing them on their final tour in November, which, it's a shame they're not going to be going anymore. But 40 years of playing music, they probably just thought, yep, we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. And it all started with this one, as well as their EP. And then it was continuing on from here, from this one, and then straight into the other albums that I've mentioned. So once again, Sepultura with Morbid Visions / Bestial Devastation and Schizophrenia. Morbid Visions, Schizophrenia. And also be sure to check out Bestial Devastation. And that is it for another episode of my Metal Vaults. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Finding gems like this, I love talking about them, as you know. And just, yeah, they don't get talked about very much. But it's good that Max and Igor are bringing them back into the spotlight, so to speak. Obviously, we recorded Bestial Devastation and Morbid Visions, and they're doing the same with Schizophrenia, so that. And what I've heard so far from the Schizophrenia side, it sounded really cool. And speaking, when I mentioned death metal, so speaking of death metal, for anyone that doesn't know, and I will mention this, I was going to mention in another video, but I thought I'd mention it here. As you know, Ken, it will be closing his channel. He will be closing Ken's Death Metal Crypt in August. So you won't be seeing him in the next year or the year after that. And I messaged him. When I messaged him yesterday. Yesterday. About getting him back on here for another chat, because it'd be good to have that one last chat with him, talk about what's going to be happening with the channel, if he's got anything planned to end it on like a high note, or if not, then you'll just, I don't know if he's got anything planned or he's just going to close it, and just talk about any new death metal bands he's found, any labels to recommend, and just talk about death metal in general, because you know me, if you watch my channel, you know my favorite genre is death metal. My favorite genre of metal will always be death metal, but I also love folk metal, black metal, doom metal, and let's not forget traditional heavy metal, and of course war metal. So thank you for tuning in as always. Be sure to like this video, share it around, comment down below if you did hear these two back in the day. What was your overall impression? Did you see him back in the early days with Giaro? Or did you see him when Andreas was already in the band? Tell me down below, or just tell me what you thought about these two albums. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with everything that I have planned for this channel. So more chats, more Metal Vault episodes, favorite death metal albums, favorite metal underground releases, be it album, EP, demo, compilation, whichever. And some, I don't normally do like just topic videos or rant videos, but those might be coming along at some point. But until then, I've been Jake's Metal Chat. Keep that banner of metal held high. And I will see you all again in another episode of my Metal Vault.